quality parts designed to last a lifetime. Because we're proud to serve the people who rely on us.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Elena Kagan appear before a House panel today testifying about recent threats against their lives. Justice Barrett explains how threats of violence against judges have affected her personal life.
My security detail sent me home with a bulletproof vest, and I carried it into my house, put it into my bedroom, dropped it down on a table, turned around, and my 12-year-old son was standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and he wanted to know what it was and why I had it, and I didn't know how to respond because maybe I lack imagination, but I didn't expect that performing this service was going to put me in the position of explaining to my children what a bulletproof vest was and why I had to wear one.
Judges around the country have seen a rise in threats of violence and intimidation. Barrett's home was also targeted by a fake swatting call to police in May. Another round of sweltering heat is in store for much of the U.S. this week.
The National Weather Service predicting more than 90 temperature records across the country will be tied or broken this week. Believe it or not, most of those records will be broken in the overnight hours when it's supposed to cool down. Cities in the Midwest and Northeast, best known for record-breaking cold, likely to see record-setting nighttime temperatures. These places include Fargo, North Dakota, International Falls, Minnesota, and Portland, Maine.
Correspondent Laura Winters reporting. Trump administration officials have told Immigration and Customs enforcement officers to suspend most vehicle stops after 2 deadly shootings in a little over a week. That according to a person familiar with the matter. The order Tuesday came after an ICE officer shot and killed a Colombian man in Maine. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 9 points. The Nasdaq rose 233. The S&P advanced 28. More at townhall.com.
You bought an RV, and you got an automatic discount from Progressive by bundling it with your home or auto insurance. That's great, but a serious word of warning every RVer should heed. You don't need to talk about things like dry weight or dump stations. And you don't need one of those expensive water filter straws either. Because the most extreme thing most RVers encounter is a campsite without hookups. So just enjoy yourself. And Progressive's automatic discount when you bundle your RV, boat, or motorcycle with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-550-7800. That's 800-550-7800. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
Tough times for some dairy farmers in Vermont. Correspondent Jason Walker reports.
That's because some dairy processors gave up on the state. A recent wave of dairy plant closures highlighting pressures like high cost and aging infrastructure. Vermont dairy farms face an $8.65 loss per 100 pounds of milk, while California and Texas farmers are seeing profits. Elected officials are seeking reforms to support the industry, but the future remains very uncertain. Jason Walker reporting.
New York is blocking new large data centers that fuel artificial intelligence for up to a year to protect the environment and energy grid. Governor Kathy Hochul signed an executive order Tuesday on the country's first statewide moratorium on hyperscale data centers. News and analysis at townhall.com.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight expect overcast skies and high humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas. The low will be 74. Tomorrow, anticipate a thunderstorm with cloudy conditions in the morning, giving way to a mix of clouds and sun in the afternoon. Temperatures will reach a high of 84. Tomorrow night will bring cloudy and humid weather with a low of 75. Looking ahead to Thursday, it will be cloudy and humid with another chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high temperature will climb to 91. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Tune in each Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for On the Money with your host and CEO of Allied Wealth Texas, Ryan Wheelis, who can help you live your richest life possible during your retirement years. That's each Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today. My friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisX Radio.
ChrisX Radio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
ChrisX.
Well, yesterday was 713 day, and then today is Taco Tuesday, so would it be out of the realm to have tacos tonight? Is it too early to talk about that yet? Well, the really old listeners are already having dinner at Luby's. I don't know if Luby's has tacos. I don't know. I have to check with some old people and find out. Because I'm not old yet. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to pretend that I'm a young person. Even though we actually have some young people working at KSEV now. Relatively speaking. Compared to the previous age limit. I'm not quite sure what it is, but we're getting up there in age. All right, good afternoon. Welcome to ChrisX Radio on your Taco Tuesday edition of the program. Glad to have you here with us as it is yet another soca. It's a soca outside. It's a frog strangler, as they say. Is this a frog strangler? Well, not. It stopped raining over here now. It was raining all morning and early afternoon, but it seems to have stopped now, so that's a good sign. I'm glad it's tapered. From what I'm told, it's supposed to taper off this week, and then we'll see. They're getting rained up in the hill country, so much for going up to the hill country this week. Oh, man, I saw some of the water. Like in my area, the area where I like to go. And they're getting some rain, which is nice because they need it, and especially this time of year. I've noticed things are different. It used to would rain like in April and May and then June, and then it would stop really towards most of June, July, August is very dry up there. And sometimes it is, but I've noticed the seasons have sort of shifted a little bit. And I'm not saying that our thorough accounting of the calendar is perfectly on point. I'm thinking that maybe that might have something to do with it, that the seasons change and things change, and, it's not always going to be uniform, at least not to. As much as the greenie weenies want to control the weather, guess what? We can't. I know. Global warming is the biggest hoax they portrayed on people, but we can't. We really have no control over it, no matter how hard we try. Things aren't really much different than it was when we were kids. And the 100 years before that. And then there were times where it was a lot hotter and times where it was a lot cooler. And I'm not sure if we're headed towards an ice age or a heat wave. I don't know which one it is. It depends on which day you talk to the Democrats. Anyway, welcome to the program. You're listening to ChrisXradio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. As always, we come bearing a gift beyond price that is almost free. We've assumed control of the airwaves, and we plan to maintain control of these airwaves for the next 2 hours. I've got trusty Lucas behind the wheel. He's driving, so if we hit any curbs, it's all his fault. Actually, it's a mothership, and he's flying. So if he bounces off a building or two, it's all his fault. Not yours. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. We got a lot to talk about today. Coming up at the bottom half of the hour, we have the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting, Tomczack, will join us. There's a lot. There's House Resolution 152. This is the U.S. Citizens Vote Amendment that would amend the Constitution to make clear that only U.S. citizens should be voting in federal elections. And with the president speaking to the nation apparently about election integrity coming up on Thursday evening, I thought it'd be a good idea to catch up and talk with Tomczack here at the bottom of the hour. So stick around for that. We'll catch up with him. Of course, as always, we'll be talking with you guys. We can talk tacos. We can talk. Can you tell I'm already hungry? I'm already ready for dinner. I could go for some tacos. I don't know if this is too early. Pretty sure they're still serving things at restaurants. Anyway, as mentioned today, President Trump will address the nation on Thursday evening. He's expected to announce newly declassified intelligence reports revealing a foreign nation's plan to interfere in the 2020 presidential election. Okay, we can talk a little bit about that. So President Trump will address the nation. Also, according to a new report, ICE is halting vehicle stops amid the latest couple of fatal shootings. Apparently, DHS has ordered all U.S. Immigrations and Custom Enforcement officers to stop pulling over vehicles following recent shootings in Maine and Texas. Oh, the radicals are getting in. They're making their changes. They got the We'll get into that. Okay, we can get into that as well. The U.S. has launched a fresh wave of strikes against Iran after President Trump vowed to reimpose the naval blockade, prompting Tehran to respond with strikes on targets in countries around the region. It's funny because every time the U.S. goes and says, hey, we're doing this, they attack their neighbors. If you want to put this in a really weird perspective, let's put this in a bully perspective. You're in school, you got a bully who tries to pick on you, you punch him in the nose and beat his ass, and what does he do? Instead of trying to fight back with you, he goes and finds other kids in the neighborhood to beat up. That's how bullies operate. That's what they're doing in the region. Okay, also, yesterday, President Trump had mentioned charging 20% toll on all ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, today, he backed off that proposal and is avoiding setting a globally unpopular precedent after the Persian Gulf nations offered billions of dollars worth of investments in the USA. So basically, Trump's like, I put it out yesterday. I thought it was a good idea. But I was called by different people, different countries, kings and emirs, and all of the people that we all know and we all love. And they've been, frankly, very strong partners. So he said, we're going to do it in a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars, so we'll do it like that. President Trump, the ultimate art of the deal, that's what he's doing, and it drives Democrats insane. And TDS members. There are lots of TDS members out there that weren't necessarily Democrats, but now they've become Democrats because they suffer from TDS so bad they just can't stand it. Okay, we got that. Also, consumer prices have fallen sharply in June, much better than expected. It's the biggest decline in 6 years. So we're seeing inflation has gone down. A lot of this is attributable to fuel prices. We can get into that. And okay, this closer to home. A 19-year-old man has been arrested after allegedly sexually assaulting a woman and trying to drown her along White Oak Bayou. Did they check the guy to see if he's a vampire? An arrest has been made after a woman was sexually assaulted while exercising near White Oak Bayou, according to Harris County Constable Precinct 1 Alan Rosen. During a press conference today, Rosen said 19-year-old suspect Jacoby Fuselier, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, Fuselier, was identified as a suspect and was arrested in connection with the incident. Precinct 1 said the woman was walking along White Oak Bayou in the Inwood area around 6:30 p.m. on Monday, yesterday, when she was attacked and fought a man who sexually assaulted her and then attempted to drown her. Rosen said the woman struggled but managed to get away, ran to her car, and flagged a deputy. And then after gathering information, Precinct 1 said they were able to track down Fuselier, or however you pronounce his name, who had allegedly whistled at another woman while riding a bike in the area. He fled initially, but they were able to get him into custody, Rosen said. Rosen added that the 19-year-old is also being investigated by other law enforcement agencies and has been arrested by Precinct 1 before for theft of a firearm, which he was convicted of. He's 19. The constable urged everyone to be vigilant and pay attention to their surroundings while walking or biking on a trail. I just saw Willowbrook Mall is enforcing a teen curfew. The teens today aren't like the teens of the past. Well, I guess some are. But this dude sexually assaulted a woman exercising in a public place and then tried to drown her in White Oak Bayou. This is why I'm a firm believer in getting, first of all, being trained. A lot of people don't, well, you don't have to have a license to carry a firearm. But I would have much rather that woman, when she was confronted by the man, instead of having to fight him off, she'd have turned around and popped 2 in the chest and 1 in the forehead and ended this guy's criminal career forever. Because in Houston, in Harris County, he's going to get a slap on the wrist and be out to go back and try to abuse another woman. Now, I know we have some listeners that are scared when I say things like that because they feel that women are crazy. You want to know why women are crazy? Because of men like this. They're targeted by dirtbags who are protected by the Democrat Party. But when it comes to women carrying a firearm, I know a lot of women aren't really, now I know some that are really good with them, but they're not everybody's Dana Lash, okay? But there are some that aren't real, aren't familiar with these, firearms. Go get trained. Go learn how to shoot, and I would say get your carry license to carry, where it's reciprocal in other states, so you can carry in other states if you need to be. But if you're a woman, protect yourself. If you're going to go and exercise, I know it sucks. It sucks that we live in a first world nation, supposedly, and that we're supposed to be able to go out and go enjoy yourself or go work out and do things. But as a lady in society, you have the entire Democrat Party that does not give a bleep about you or your well-being. While claiming they will protect you, they will take your body from the bayou after you've been drowned in it, murdered, tossed in it, whatever, and then maybe do a toxicology report on it to find out how you died. That is the government's definition of how they will help you. Or you can run and get an officer if you're able to escape. I would much rather you guys, you ladies, be prepared to defend yourself with lethal force if necessary. Because the Democrat Party has embraced not only criminals in society, but they've embraced criminal illegal aliens, and they will side with them over you. So playtime's over. What is it Dana says? Playtime. No, she calls it whatever the term she uses. Oh, no, I like Dan Bongino. Cutesy time is over. It's been over for some time. The Democrat Party just manipulates fools into not believing it. The fact that so many foolish women will vote with the Democrat Party, will vote for Democrats, thinking they care about them, saying that, abortion is health care. That is health care for women. It's not. Yeah, no, it's health care. It really is. And we're for women. Excuse us while we allow dudes to participate in your sports and athletics and dominate and give them opportunities to men while claiming we're standing up for women. We're going to tell you Mitt Romney has a binder full of chicks and is waging a war on women, while the Democrat Party has binders full of dead women's bodies thanks to illegal aliens raping, torturing, and murdering them, and homegrown criminals doing the same. The Democrat Party is the biggest threat that we have. And their little foot soldiers are dangerous people. They will go pull in front of ICE agents attempting to get these rapist murderers off our streets, and will take a bullet for them. Have convinced these fools that somehow this is the way to go. This is worth it. I know this isn't going to register with any Democrats, but folks, it ain't worth it. What's worth it is protecting yourself. I know you don't want to carry a gun. I get it. I don't like carrying a gun. But I tell you what, if you're going to try to hit me, you're going to try to do something, you're going to try to abuse me or someone I love, are you willing to bet your life on it? What movie is that from? You willing to bet your life on it? It's so weird watching society regress back to times that I thought we had eliminated, that we had moved. We're an elite nation. We've got the greatest stuff in the world, except these dirtbag Democrats, these Democrat socialists especially, come into power and they literally want to hand it over to people who don't deserve it, don't deserve to be here, people that have abused their rights, abused others' rights, deserve to be behind bars, but they're all the greatest Americans in their book. That tells me a little bit something about Democrats and Democrat socialists, that I don't like them. Not all Democrats are that way, but unfortunately they vote that way. All right, you're listening to ChrisX Radio. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll come back. We got some other things to get into, but had to start off with that story first. So a woman was sexually assaulted. Fortunately, she fought the attacker off, and then they arrested 19-year-old Jacoby Fusilier, or however you pronounce that. I'm not sure. Can somebody go drown him in a bayou? I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for people who assault women, sexually assault women, and then attempt to murder them by drowning them in a bayou. The problem was when he was trying to drown her, he kept hitting dead bodies and couldn't get her fully under the water because we're in Harris County. Am I allowed to say that? All right, you're listening to ChrisX Radio. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
You're listening to ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio, the voice of Texas.
Tune in each Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for On the Money with your host and CEO of Allied Wealth Texas, Ryan Wheelis, who can help you live your richest life possible during your retirement years. That's each Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV.
Everyone knows the BBB is the Better Business Bureau, but depending on what you need, it's the Better Plumber Bureau, the Better Auto Mechanic Bureau, the Better Accountant Bureau. That's because the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check that business out first so you don't get ripped off bureau. Be smart. Always look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
A must-have news feed for conservatives. Keep up to date on the key conservative issues with the KSEV Facebook page. From the news you need to know, to the topics that KSEV listeners are talking about, to KSEV events. There's a lot to like and a lot to share. Go to facebook.com/KSEV700 or find the link at ksevradio.com. Thanks for listening to KSEV Radio. Now, join the conversation online. Facebook.com/KSEV700.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Do you need money? Want to lower your monthly debt? Are you thinking about a cash-out refinance? Hi, it's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. A cash-out refinance can get you back in your comfort zone, and that's what it's all about. A recent client who closed with us had his payment go up about $300, but his monthly outgo was being reduced by $1,200, so giving him a net positive cash flow of $900. It's not about adding debt, but restructuring it in a way that makes sense, and this math totally makes sense. And please don't sweat it if your interest rate is going up a little or if you're extending the term. I can show you by taking a small amount of what you're saving monthly and applying it towards your mortgage, you're going to pay it off just as quickly and you'll be way ahead in the money game, which is where we all want to be, right? Remember, we want to help you, but we're not going to help you over a cliff. Baker Mortgage, 281-313-MOVE, or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Want to beat the summer heat? Get your glass to Specs. At Specs, options is a big understatement. We've got all your faves, from refreshing wines and canned cocktails to bold spirits, tasty mixers and snacks, and all the gear you need to mix up the fun. Shop Specs! With the largest selection and lowest prices, Specs is your destination for delicious. Make a splash this summer with Specs wine, spirits, and finer foods. The fun starts here.
And now, back to ChrisXradio on the voice of Texas.
Everybody's freaked out over these data centers. I'm really not freaked out about them. I mean, I do agree with the governor and others that they need to produce their own electricity and not be a big drain on our grid. But other than that, I mean, really? Also make them comply with, local and state and local ordinances so they can't be too loud, and then there you go. Who cares? Understand the biggest funder against these data centers are the communist Chinese, the Chi-Coms. Huh? Yeah. They're the ones funding all the propaganda against them. Why? Because they want to be the world leader. I know. People you just got to know about it. Anyway, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here on our Taco Tuesday edition of the program. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to talk with Tomczack. He's the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. Yeah, that's right. USCVA.org is the website. If you're interested in only having American citizens vote in American elections, I'm amazed that this is even in fact, I'll probably ask him that question. Amazed, which I already know the answer. Amazed that we find ourselves in a time to where you literally have to do this. You have to pass constitutional amendments to stop Democrats from trying to get people who are not legally allowed to vote in our elections to make it legal for them to vote in our elections. Well, it's just local elections. There's no voter fraud. These are the same people that are trying to convince you that there is no voter fraud. And then when you attempt to investigate it, they strip the Attorney General of the state of Texas his ability to look into voter fraud and turn it over to Democrat district attorneys who often get elected due to, well, we'll just leave it at that. By the way, I'm sure you heard Sean Tier, the current district attorney of Harris County. You see he's trying to get funding for Harris County to go and investigate ICE. He has no jurisdiction to do that, none, and they want to get millions of dollars to investigate the feds. They're broke. They're facing a huge budget shortfall, but they're going to keep doing this. Why? Because God forbid they focus on what they're supposed to do. Anyhow, sorry, off on a tangent. In the next segment, we'll be talking with Tomczack, once again, the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. We'll get his take. If you want to hit the website, uscva.org, if you want to go check it out ahead of time. So I encourage you to go look. As mentioned, it is Taco Tuesday. Now, here in a couple of days, the president will be addressing the nation, is expected to announce a newly declassified intelligence report revealing foreign nations' attempts and plans to interfere in the 2020 presidential election. CNN is reporting, well, they reported on Monday, citing an MS Now, Ms. Now, as Dana calls them, Miss Now, or MS Now, which used to be MSDNC, so they changed the name because NBC didn't want to be, I guess, tied to them anymore because they're such trash. A report based on two unnamed White House officials. Okay, I should stop right there. There's a report from unnamed White House officials, according to MSDNC, which is now Ms. Now. CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Acting Director of National Intelligence Bill Pulte, and FBI Director Kash Patel and Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullen will join Trump on Thursday evening. Earlier, Trump announced on True Social, he'll be making a speech to the nation this Thursday evening. Tune in, be there, be square. It's going to be probably the greatest address of a nation ever in the history of nations. It'll be a typical Trump thing. He'll probably talk too long. But he's going to report information that is probably important. But there's an entire political party in our country that is so vested in the cheating that they don't want to hear it. So they're just going to try to trash it before it even happens. I'll give you a spoiler alert. They often appear on Ms. Now. And anything to do with MSDNC or whatever else. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back and catch up with our guest. Jack Tomczack joins us. He's the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. We'll talk about this House Resolution 152, the U.S. Citizens Vote Amendment, why we need to amend the Constitution to make it clear that only U.S. citizens vote in federal elections. Seems logical, right? Well, we'll catch up with Jack Tomczack here on the other side of the break. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Distance is futile. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Hey y'all, Craig Collins here. Please check out my brand new show from 6 to 7 o'clock Monday through Friday right here on the Voice of Texas. And also please check out our relatively new social media pages. That's at KSEV Radio on YouTube and Rumble. We are live streaming more and more of our content there every day. And finally, check out my social media pages at Radio Craig C on X and Facebook. That's the Craig Collins Show Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 o'clock and wherever you get your podcasts on KSEV KGBC, the Voice of Texas.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. How many times have you switched your health insurance in the last few years? How many times have you wanted to switch your health insurance the last few years? If you're in good health and pay your own insurance, you don't have to settle for scary high deductibles or unaffordable premiums. Let American Medical Plans find the right plan for you at a price you can afford. Call 833-500-PLAN. No, this is not some ridiculous Obamacare plan with no doctors and a limited HMO. And it's not some rinky-dink insurance company that doesn't cover a single claim. No, this is real coverage for you and your family. Go to the doctors and hospitals you choose. Stop shopping around hunting for the best deal. American Medical Plans will do the hunting for you. Get you a better plan at a better price. You owe it to yourself to see what they can do for you. Get it done before the rates go up. Call American Medical Plans, 833-500-PLAN. That's 833-500-7526. Or go to AmericanMedicalPlans.com. American Medical Plans. Quality plans managed by you, not the government.
It's hot, it's humid, it's Texas. You know we're in for a long, hot summer. Nolan Ryan for American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Beat back the hot Texas sun once and for all with the cool, clean home comfort of American Standard. Consumer testing says American Standard is one of the best, but your family comfort means the most. It's that important, and it's what we do in Texas. Stay cool this summer. Peace of mind is everything in this business. Comfort the way you like it. AmericanStandardAir.com.
Checo Pro Joe here. Join me this Saturday at 11 a.m. when Andrew from A&H M Pro Generators discusses whole home standby generators and the peace of mind they bring. That's this Saturday at 11, right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
I'd expect overcast skies and high humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas. The low will be 74. Tomorrow, anticipate a thunderstorm with cloudy conditions in the morning, giving way to a mix of clouds and sun in the afternoon. Temperatures will reach a high of 84. Tomorrow night will bring cloudy and humid weather with a low of 75. Looking ahead to Thursday, it will be cloudy and humid with another chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high temperature will climb to 91. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
And now, we return you to your regularly scheduled dose of common sense. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
You can never go wrong with a little heart coming into a segment. Back when music was rock and roll. All right, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. It is time to catch up with our guest. He's the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. His name is Jack Tomczack, and he joins us here now. Jack, thanks for being here this afternoon. Good to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's good to get you on the program. I guess before we get into what we're going to actually talk about, this House resolution and what's going on, let's talk a little bit about Americans for Citizen Voting. What exactly is this organization, and what exactly do you guys do?
So we've been around for, 5-6 years now, and we've been helping state legislators and citizen activists amend state constitutions to make it so only U.S. citizens are allowed to vote in state and local elections. Texas recently passed one of these amendments because most state constitutions are written in a way where there is a path for municipalities to legalize non-citizen voting. So that's what we've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years, and then we started last year attempting to amend the U.S. Constitution for the same reason.
You know, we're talking with Jack Tomczack. He's, once again, the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting, and this is truly an issue that it's really modern, 21st century, that we're dealing with, where we actually have elections on some of these local areas where they do allow illegal immigrants or people that are not U.S. citizens to vote in these elections. I would have never thought we would have needed an organization to tell us, hey, it's a bad idea to allow people that aren't from your country, that aren't citizens of your country, to vote in local or state elections. But not only is it happening, it's happening, in certain states like California or New York or places like this where they actually want it to happen on a much broader scale, including the federal elections. And this is, I guess, where you guys come in. So I know the website is uscva.org. So for those who want to go check it out, uscva.org. Let's talk about this new House Resolution 152. It's the U.S. Citizens Vote Amendment. Let's talk about this amendment in particular, and then we'll talk about, I guess, first and foremost, explain what it is and what would it actually do.
Sure. So nobody nowadays is aware of this, but 100 years ago, most people knew what I'm about to tell you. The U.S. Constitution does not require you to be a citizen in order to vote in any election. In Article 1, Section 2, where it deals with who is eligible to vote for the House of Representatives in Congress, and in the 17th Amendment, where it lays out the eligibility for who can vote for the Senate in Congress, it says it's up to the states, and whomever a state lets vote for their state's most numerous legislative body, so that's going to be your state house, is also eligible to vote for members of Congress. So the eligibility to vote for House and Senate in Congress is set by whoever your state legislature lets vote for the state house. And that connection, that tie, because it is in the Constitution, it's unbreakable. There's no state statute that can sever that tie. There's no federal statute that can sever that tie. So if California were to let non-citizens vote for their state legislature, those same non-citizens would automatically be eligible to vote for members of Congress. And even if a state was just trying to legalize non-citizen voting for state elections, it's impossible not to legalize it for both, because the Constitution says they're connected. So House Joint Resolution 152 would sever that connection and make it so you have to be a citizen to vote for any federal office, for Congress and for the presidency. Eligibility for voting for the presidency is not tied to your state legislature, but it is, in Article 2, Section 1, it is set by your state government. So a state, California, you name the state, could decide to let non-citizens vote for president, and without this constitutional amendment, there's nothing anybody can do to stop them.
We're talking with Jack Tomczack. He is the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. The website, once again, uscva.org is the website if you want to go check it out. It's, when we go back to our forefathers who wrote the Constitution and did what they did, many of them were from other countries. At the time, it was a different world, so I can see why it was different back then. Well, clearly, we live in a diametrically opposed world compared to what that was, because now we have people that are native born here in our country that are citizens, but we've got people that come to our country literally just for the largesse, if you will, to try to get on the system or do this. And then there are portions of society, as you mentioned, California and some of these other areas, New York, some of these other areas, they're going through and under the guise of just having people, non-citizens, vote in local elections. But as you pointed out, it extends far beyond that and moves to a point where you're looking at electing federal officials, whether it's Congress members or eventually all the way up to the office of the presidency of the United States. And it seems to be a problem that needs to be addressed. I guess where it stands today in Congress, why does this different from other legislation, or especially when you're talking about election integrity proposals?
Sure. So the SAVE Act and the Save America Act and Make Elections Great Again, those bills deal with trying to prevent non-citizens from voting illegally. The voter ID requirement, photo ID for voting requirement, that's to make sure that people are voting legally and to prevent people from voting who shouldn't be voting. And the same with citizenship verification. They're intended to make sure that nobody votes illegally, and those are all good things. But what they're missing is that this legal non-citizen voting, that can happen, that is happening in 24 cities across the country, across 4 states plus D.C., but could spread to state and federal elections. So the current election integrity bills address illegal voting, but they don't address legal non-citizen voting. And that's where the U.S. Citizen Voting Act is different than those. And if the SAVE Act were to get through, the Save America Act, and we would have this citizenship verification for voting, that's all well and good, but all states like California would have to do to get around that is to just legalize non-citizen voting. And then there's no point in verifying citizenship, because citizenship would no longer be a requirement to vote. It's a huge loophole, and Congress should, they're spending so much attention on the SAVE Act and that stuff, and they need to take a look at House Resolution 152 before it's too late.
Man, like I said, you're bringing up elements about this that I don't think a lot of people have even thought about, and it makes perfect sense. You don't want to, try to address one while the other completely supersedes it in another way. We're talking with Jack Tomczack. He's the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. The president is scheduled to give an address to the nation on Thursday, and they're saying it's expected he's going to announce newly declassified intelligence reports revealing that a foreign nation plans to interfere, or plan to interfere with the 2020 election. I imagine he'll probably talk about some other things, but we're hearing reports from multiple outlets now regarding this. I guess this, of course, brings up, I guess, my final question before we run out of time here. Why should Republicans go ahead and act before it's too late? I imagine a lot of people are going to be sitting and waiting to see what the president has to say on Thursday night, but you guys are already on this and are clearly, it almost sounds like you're 2 steps ahead of the president.
Well, and it's if the president would know about this, that would help a lot. You might find this surprising. It's hard to get a meeting at the White House with the president. So I don't even think he's aware of this, or, he comes from the business world. He's not a political animal like us. He probably hasn't read this part of the Constitution. And it's such an oddball issue. Most people are unaware of it, but it's very real. And we need to take elections seriously on all angles. And right now they're worrying about making sure all the windows are shut, but they're leaving the front door and the back door wide open.
Yeah, it really does sound like that's the case when you're, once you've broken it down to realize you're talking about a couple of different issues at least. And then you're looking at people that are constantly looking to manipulate our system for whatever gain they're trying to get. I guess tell people, Jack, how can people get more information about Americans for Citizen Voting and how they can also follow you to make sure they're keeping up with what you're doing and what you guys are doing over at Americans for Citizen Voting?
Well, they can go to uscva.org. That's a website, and all the information we have there, all the writings from lawyers on the left and the right, verifying that what we're saying is true. Go there and write, email, tweet your congressperson and ask them to sign on to House Joint Resolution 152. We need Chairman Jim Jordan and Congressman Chip Roy to hold a hearing on this before too long, because they may not have control of things come next year.
Boy, that ain't no joke. We don't know how things are going to play out with the midterms and with those coming up. That could be if the Democrats take over, it's a totally different world, and it makes you guys' job a whole lot harder because we know that the Democrat Party is headlong into they're trying to get everybody to be. They want people from across the globe to be determining our elections because they think it somehow benefits them. Jack Tomczack. Also, by the way, I saw you on. They can follow you on social media as well. You're over on Twitter X at Jack Tomczack.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So they can follow you there as well. And once again, check out the website, uscva.org, uscva.org if you want to get more information. Jack, thanks for being here today. I appreciate you enlightening our listeners as to the multiple facets of this problem, that it is actually twofold and it is a lot bigger than people think. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, once again, Jack Tomczack, Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. I encourage you to check out that website, uscva.org, or follow him at Jack Tomczack. Tomczak is how you spell his last name. So make sure you're following him and what they're working on. This is this House Resolution 152. You need to go check it out and make sure you know what's going on. But also, as he mentioned, feel free to write your congressmen, your senators, to get involved because, once again, it may be too late. If we wait until November, we don't know what's going to happen yet. And we do know that there are certain parties that are intent on winning that aren't intent on locking up our elections for American citizens. They're more interested in locking up the elections to give them universal power. Absolute power is what they're interested in. So this could be a very important object to look into and not to let go by the wayside, because we find ourselves in strange new times. You know, they always said, may you live in interesting times. I don't think there is any doubt whatsoever that we live in interesting times. Just how interesting are we going to allow them to be? Well, that depends on how engaged we are. I've said this before, now I'm going to say it again. There's nowhere on God's green earth you can go hide that these Democrats won't hunt you down to rule over you. You need to understand that and understand why groups like the Americans for Citizen Voting exist. uscva.org is the website. I want to thank Jack Tomczack for being here once again. Great information, and make sure you go look up House Resolution 152, the U.S. Citizens Vote Amendment. They will amend the Constitution to make clear that only U.S. citizens should be voting in federal elections. Only U.S. citizens should be voting in America, period. That's the way I look at it. There's a complete and opposite opinion on the different side of the political aisle. All right, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I'm Chris S. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll start taking your phone calls if you want to join us as well. We'll be right back with more ChrisX Radio.
Listening to ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio on the Voice of Texas.
At O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe there are people in our country and other countries that are trying to chip away at our freedom. We are taking a stand against the tyranny that is happening and want to protect what our veterans and forefathers have fought and died for. Texans are independent thinkers, self-reliant, and bold. If you want a real estate company that has a backbone, give us a call at 281-373-3393. Again, that's 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at oharare.com. O'Hara & Company Real Estate backs our patriots, veterans, and first responders. We are proud to stand up for what we believe in, so give us a call at 281-373-3393. Again, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at oharare.com. As William Wallace said in Braveheart, they can take away our lives, but they will never take away our freedom. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Growing up, I remember watching my dad drop everything to help somebody in need. Early or late, if somebody needed help, he showed up. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, CEO of Garage Door Doctor. That lesson stuck with me. That's why our regular business hours are 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. No extra charge for early mornings or late evenings. Because getting help on your schedule shouldn't cost more.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
ChrisX here to tell you about Humble Amco transmission and AC specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfast and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that ChrisX sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862 or online at humbleamco.com.
And now, back to ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio on the voice of Texas.
Interesting timing. About an hour or so ago, the House voted 215-211 in favor of a special rules resolution, which instructs the text of the Save America Act to be attached to the National Defense Authorization Act. So the House is doing its job. Speaker Johnson, everybody told me that guy's a rhino. He's not going to be any good. He's terrible. But then again, these are the same people that call everybody rhinos because they disagree on one issue. So the House is doing what they can, I guess, regarding what's happening here in the world. Then you got Jack Tomczack, who's working with the Vice President for Outreach for American Citizen Voting, trying to work on getting House Resolution 152, the U.S. Citizens Vote Amendment, which would make it clear that only U.S. citizens vote in federal elections. Once again, the website is uscva.org. You can go learn more about why these are two separate issues. I have no problem with the SAVE Act. We need to pass it. But we need more than that, and there you go. We need to stop allowing these states to go through there and legally allow illegal voters in our elections. Well, they're no longer illegal when the states go through and allow. It's insane. Anyway, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. You reached the final segment here of the first hour. If you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. All right, so we got a lot going on as well. It is Taco Tuesday. Man, tacos sound kind of good. By the way, for dinner last night, talking about must be living right. I don't know. I went to, what is it? Slick Willie's. No, is it Slick Willie or just Willie's? Willie's Ice House. That was it. Sorry, not Slick Willie's. I think that's a pool place where you go play pool. I went to Willie's Ice House for dinner. And then I got some food, and then I got some to-go food for my girlfriend. She was working. I was going to bring it back to her. And when the lady came out to deliver the to-go food, she goes, hey, listen, somebody had ordered a chips and queso and then didn't get it or whatever, so we were just going to throw it away. So she goes, I just put it in here, some chips and some queso for free, no charge, but I just put it in there just so if you don't mind, if you would like to take it, then, and she goes, just give her, and I was like, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That was awfully nice. For one of the few times going out to eat, I actually got my money's worth because it is expensive to go out and eat these days. It's not as cheap. Anyway, so I got some free chips and queso last night. Had a little bit of it. It's pretty good. What's funny is I love chips and queso, but I never hardly ever get it because anytime you go, unlike, once again, the European mind can't handle this, going to Mexican restaurants or Tex-Mex restaurants here and getting free chips and salsa, especially when you go to Chewy's. And you get that, whatever that creamy jalapeno sauce is. I'm sorry, I can't order queso to go along with that because that's already so good. So, anyway, It's Taco Tuesday. I don't know if I want tacos, but I could have some Tex-Mex maybe. Maybe some Tex-Mex. I don't know. Sounds pretty good. I guess along that vein. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw that Lindsey Graham's sister has been sworn in as the interim senator. This triggers a special election, so they'll hold an election to replace that seat. But for the time being, his sister, I don't know if you guys know his story. Lindsey Graham was a much better human being than he got credit for because of politics. People just want to trash people and hate them. And Lindsey was actually a pretty good guy. Whether you agree with him or not, that's one thing. But he was a pretty good dude. Apparently, his parents died when he was a young man. I think he was 21. And the mother died, and then the father passed away like 8 months later, something like that. I don't know the exact time. But his sister was, I think, 13 at the time or 14. He adopted his sister and took care of her. This is long before he ever ran for Congress. He served in the military. And Lindsey turns out to be a pretty good dude. So it's very sad that he passed away. Also, a good reason, from what I'm told, he was like, hey, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to die. Well, unfortunately, we're not ultimately in control of that decision, but you are in control of your health to a certain degree, to where if you have obvious signs of health issues, you go get checked out. I'm as guilty as anybody. Like I said, last year, man, I got sick and this bizarre COVID thing, and then afterwards I started getting fluid in my lungs and stuff, and I didn't know. I've never had it before. So by the time I realized, I was like, okay, this is bad. I actually do need to go to the doctor. It wasn't that I was refused to go to the doctor. It was just, all right, I need to go. Well, apparently Lindsey had some heart issues for a while, and apparently they say he was kind of refused to go, and then even when he was having these issues here right before he passed away, he was like, I don't have time to die. I got work to do. I think all of us feel that way. We all have things to do. There's never going to be enough time in this life for us to do all of the things that we want to do. So the goal is to try to make sure you stay healthy enough to take care of yourself so you can do as much as possible. And Lindsey died relatively young at 71. Now that's it. The other thing too is you have to realize we're in different times. 71 is not as old as it used to be. If you lived to be 71 100 years ago, man, you lived a long time. 200 years ago, man, that's astronomical. Very few people made it to 71 200 years ago. Now, you got people like Donald Trump, who's almost 80, still coherent, still engaged, still doing his job. Then you got people like Mitch McConnell, who I think is 84, still alive, they tell us. I don't know. But anyway, so the point is you want to try to take care of yourself. Look for the warning signs. If you're having health issues, don't ignore them. Get checked out. Healthcare is expensive. I get it. But you got to be careful, and you got to take care of your health. And probably going and eating tacos every Tuesday is probably not the best thing for you. I don't know. Probably depends on what kind of tacos you like to eat. I generally don't even eat tacos when I go eat Tex-Mex. I always eat way too many chips. I know that. But I usually get like the burritos are good. I like those. At Chewy's, they have the burrito that's covered in the queso. Oh, man, that's so good. But then I think they started charging for the queso now. It's like, hey. Also, like, there's a few other places around that'll have like the burritos, but then it's covered like in the chili sauce. Oh, it's so good. Sometimes just getting fajitas. I'll get the fajitas and eat those. Sometimes I eat fajitas even without the tortillas. I can literally just eat grilled chicken and other stuff. I don't do it very often. I should. Then again, I also like burgers. Is there a burger day of the week? I know there's a burger holiday. We just celebrated. It was a couple weeks ago. I don't know if there's a burger holiday, but I like burgers. My problem is the fries. I don't need to eat the fries. I need to always, it costs more to go get a burger and a drink than it does to get a burger, fries, and a drink. Of course, I'm always, because you get the combo meals, but I hate to do that because I don't want to waste the fries. So if I get them, I'm going to eat them. That was that thing, finish your food, and I hate wasting food. So I have to figure out a way to get something other than the fries. And again, I don't know how healthy burgers are for you either. So there's that too. But anyway, now that we've got all the 713 holiday, which was yesterday, I was glad Tierra called in. By the way, I forgot to mention that yesterday. Tierra called in and explained the significance of the 713. The Houston scene was a big influence on the hip-hop scene back in the 90s and moving into rap and stuff, and was a big thing. I remember there was Rap-A-Lot Records. I remember, was it Kenny Smith, former Houston Rocket, was involved with Rap-A-Lot Records? So there's a big hip-hop scene here in the Houston area that a lot of people, well, I guess a lot of people know now, but a lot of people don't. And I didn't know that was sort of where the 713 deal came from. You're down in the 713. I've heard people refer to as the Nickel. That's the 5th Ward. But now they got the 713. I guess that's all Houston. Houston is an international city, far more international than any other city in the state of Texas. Probably more than just about any city in the country. But Texas is a big state. We got a great state here. Okay, tell you what, we're out of time. We'll come back. We'll get into the new ICE report and a whole lot more, and we'll take your phone calls. 281-558-KSEV. Hour number 2 is up next.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Voters in one of the most conservative states in the country will decide whether to roll back the state's abortion ban. Correspondent Bernie Bennett has more.
Idaho officials informed supporters Monday that the measure would be added to the ballot. That makes it the 4th state where voters will directly decide abortion policy in November. In Missouri, a proposal would undo an amendment adopted 2 years ago that allowed abortion. In Nevada and Virginia, measures before voters would enshrine abortion rights in the state constitutions. Both places already allow abortion through at least 24 weeks of pregnancy. Abortion rights groups have prevailed in most ballot measure votes over the last 4 years. Bernie Bennett reporting.
There are growing concerns about aging lawmakers in Washington, D.C. Correspondent Laura Winters reports.
The sudden death of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham is renewing focus on the country's aging lawmakers. Graham had just turned 71 just 2 days before he passed away. The senator appeared to be in good health and had played golf with President Trump and former South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy just days before he left for a trip to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Republican Senator Mitch McConnell, who was 84, was rushed to the hospital back on June 14th. McConnell says he fell at home and has been suffering from a mild case of pneumonia. He released a photo of himself and his wife. And President Trump, now 80, is the oldest person ever elected president. He was 78 at the time.
Using the Strait of Hormuz, saying Gulf countries would instead invest in the United States. Another wave of U.S. strikes on Iran and Iranian attacks on shipping and U.S. allies left an interim peace deal in tatters. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 9 points, the Nasdaq rose 233, the S&P advanced 28. More at townhall.com.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really helped me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-499-5331. 800-499-5331. 800-499-5331.
Shopping insurance? Contact Joe Wardell. He's an independent agent, and he can look at what you have, shop and see. His number, 281-944-9025. Joe Wardell, 281-944-9025.
Jim Clark, a.k.a. Check-A-Pro Joe here. Houston's best contractors. Houston's smartest homeowners. It all starts with the Check-A-Pro radio show. Now hear my show every Saturday at 7 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, Here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
Most polling shows that Republicans are going to have a tough time winning majorities in both houses of Congress in November. Voters blame Trump for inflation and believe that many of the necessities they need to purchase have become unaffordable. 2 out of 3 voters don't believe that preventing Iran from building a nuclear weapon is worth the higher gas prices that they are paying. Voters never give a president credit for preventing bad things like a nuclear war from happening. President Trump should realize by now that the Islamic Republic will never agree to a deal that results in a Trump win. The mullahs read the polls and see the domestic political pressure to end the war. It's part of their strategy. We should stop chasing a bad deal. This does not mean that we should resume unlimited airstrikes, but rather targeted decapitation strikes against their leadership, as the Israelis used effectively. If Iranian leaders won't cut a deal, then let's get new ones. The real leverage we have against Iran is economic. We destroyed what Iran took decades to build. Their defense industrial base used to manufacture drones, missiles, and nuclear weapons. Inflation in Iran is running at 40%. The blockade collapsed the revenue stream used by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, their security services, and all the government infrastructure. If our blockade is allowed to continue and not stopped by Democrats and a few lame duck Republicans in Congress, we can eliminate the mullah's leverage over its people. We don't need regime change to pressure them into a better deal for us. Just perseverance. Intercepting what leaks out via Iran's shadow tanker fleet will speed the process. The best guess is this pressure will take 6 months to show results, right around the time of the elections. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand, only on AM 700 KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
ChrisX.
Good evening and welcome to the second hour of ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. We assume control of the airwaves. We'll maintain control here for the next hour, and then at 6 p.m., we'll turn things over to the Craig Collins program, which takes over each Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Even on Fridays when the Amigos are on, Craig Collins takes over after the Amigos. Boy, that's a heck of an act to follow. Anyway, welcome back to the program. It is our Taco Tuesday edition of the show. Glad to have you here with us as we are rocking and rolling. If you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-57 38. There's a couple of things that we'll get it. Well, there's a lot of things we'll get into. I want to thank Jack Tomczack, the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. He joined us in the first hour. If you missed it, you can always go check out the podcast later, or you can go check out the video stream of our program, which is being streamed currently right now on YouTube and Rumble, on Twitter X, and even on Facebook. The KSEV radio page, so you can go check that out. You can actually go back and click on the video and then rewind. So you can do that's kind of cool. I didn't know that for the longest time. It's great technology, so that's pretty amazing. So if you want to go check that out, we had them on at the bottom of the last hour. But it was good information. Like I said, we need more than the Save America Act. We actually need an amendment to the Constitution to make it clear that only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections. And as I mentioned, it is Taco Tuesday, which, man, I could go for some tacos right now. It always reminds me that, I could go for some tacos. There's that, the racial joke Muppets. Have you seen that? It's on social media going around. It's a guy wearing a mask. It's a Muppet. They're Muppets, and he's trying to mug a Hispanic Muppet. He's like, hey, man, give me your wallet or whatever. And the Hispanic Muppet's like, hey, man, what is it? And he calls him somebody, goes, you're a black guy. He's, what? Are you racial profiling me? It's like, no, man, you talk black. He goes, well, okay, I am black. And then they mention something about it. He goes, man, I could really go for a taco right now. He's like, oh, me too. And they become friends. It's hilarious. But that was back, I guess that is for a segment of the population that can handle jokes. We have an entire portion of the population that can no longer take a joke. They can only joke about Donald Trump or Republicans dying. That's funny to them. Nothing else is. These people are weirdos. Anyway, according to a new report, the president will address, let me take a step back. The president will address the nation on Thursday evening and is expected to announce that a newly declassified intelligence reports reveal that a foreign nation's plans to interfere in the 2020 presidential election. That will be very interesting to get an update on that and see what happens. Once again, this is the election that was supposedly the most transparent, the clearest election ever in the history of mankind that no one was allowed to look at. And then when they started looking at it, there are hundreds of thousands of illegal votes in multiple swing states that were counted, that shouldn't have been counted, that were decided by far less than the hundreds of thousands. But whatever. That's over. It's done. We do need to go back and look at it to make sure it never happens again in our country. It'd be a good idea. Anyway, the president will address that. I imagine he'll probably mention Lindsey Graham and probably touch on Iran and some other things. He may touch on this, too. According to a new report, at least a couple of networks are reporting this, that ICE is halting vehicle stops amid the latest two fatal shootings. The DHS has ordered all U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers to stop pulling over vehicles following these recent shootings in Maine and Texas. The directive was first reported by the Daily Wire, comes after two fatal ICE-involved shootings during vehicle stops that sparked protests and has renewed scrutiny among the agency's enforcement tactics. Well, the one part that is always left out of this renewed scrutiny is the fact that these people run from ICE. These people try to run over ICE agents. These people try to do things. And even when it's on video, there's a portion of the population that refuses to acknowledge the video, refuses to admit that it exists and it happened. We saw with the Renee Good situation, she literally I don't know if she was trying to run the officer down, but her vehicle hit the guy as he's trying to get out of the way from in front of it. And, of course, he fired shots, and she ended up dead. And then the Alex Preddy idiot who inserted himself in a position, and he ended up dead. When you insert yourself in situations you're not supposed to be involved in, bad and tragic things can happen. And these lefties are willing to take those risks because ultimately their goal is absolute power. So they have to stop anything and everything at all cost. And unfortunately, these little clowns, these little foot soldiers put out by the Democrat Party are willing to risk their lives for this sort of thing. It's insane. Anyway, the report said the policy could significantly affect immigration enforcement because traffic stops have long been a preferred method of use for arresting illegal aliens outside of their homes, where officers believe that suspects may have easier access to weapons and judicial warrants are often required. One agency supposedly told The Wire, numbers are going down. We can't do bleep. The report paused Monday's fatal shooting in Biddeford, Maine, where ICE officers attempted to stop a vehicle and shot and killed a 26-year-old Colombian national. An ICE spokesperson said the driver attempted to flee, prompting an officer to fire while fearing for public safety. This happens on a regular basis. People get involved, ICE shows up, they punch it, try to get away, and if you're in front of that car, they'll run you down in a second. Won't even think twice about it. I saw a video of a young woman getting out of her car here in the Houston area, and some idiot running from the cops crashed into her right as she got out of the vehicle and was standing there. Now, fortunately, the car took the brunt of it, and I think she's going to be okay, but she was injured. But that'll show you what these criminals do when they're being apprehended. It's a weird concept. Run from the cops. Who cares? Be damned. The Democrats will defend us no matter what. And they do. The FBI and local authorities are investigating the incident up in Maine, as well as what's happening here in the Houston area, because the same sort of thing happened here. Now, there were no body cam footage because the body cams weren't being worn by ICE officials or ICE agents because of the government shutdown by the Democrats. So this is a multi-pronged approach. Shut the government down for months and months and months. Claim you cannot shut the government down. You hate America if you do so, but then they do the longest government shutdowns in U.S. history. It causes things to get backed up. The ICE agents don't get their body cams, and then you attack the ICE agents for not wearing the body cams your shutdown caused that did this, and then you blame somehow that the ICE agents are acting nefariously. Somehow in the Democrats' mindset, ICE agents are running around just brutally murdering people for no reason. That's what they want you to believe. It's not what's happening, but the truth doesn't matter to them. They're not even remotely interested in the truth. Democrats are interested in power, and they will throw an entire agency of the federal government under the bus to get what they want. It's amazing where we are. They want to make it. Remember, it was defunding the police before. Remember that? Last 5 years? Defund police. We got to get rid of cops. We got to get rid of the cops. We got to get rid of the cops. Oh, wait a minute. The cops protect us from the thugs we're protecting. And then, so that course failed miserably. So now it's moved on to defund ICE. How about let's defund Democrats? Can we do that? Can we stop allowing Democrats to raise money? Can we do that? Stop allowing them to get elected so they can continually screw up this country? Anyway, we'll see. This is according to 2 reports. We'll see if it is factual. The Daily Wire is pretty good. 281-558 KSEV, 281-558-5738 is the number if you want to join us. So if confirmed, this report, the suspension of routine vehicle stops would mark a significant operational shift for ICE as federal officials continue investigating both of these fatal encounters. I love how the that's another thing too. They've already made up their mind that ICE is bad. They've already made up their mind that they're siding with the criminal illegal aliens every time. We already know that's coming. And then on the local level, the district attorney of Harris County is trying to get money from Harris County so he can open his own investigation into ICE. He has no authority there. He has no jurisdiction there. It's none whatsoever. But that's what the lefties do. That's why the lefties got up and gathered around Sean Tier and got him elected to replace Kim Hogg. That's why they got him in. That's why they do what they do. So they can waste more money. They're running a budget deficit. Whatever. We don't have money, but we still need more money to go do this instead of doing things like, I don't know, city and county services. Well, you're probably going to have to take a hit on that. You're probably going to lose some city county services. We need to investigate federal officials. And then you get another dirtbag Democrat running for governor. We need to take that rainy day fund and buy votes with it for Democrats. These people are dirtbags. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you got President Trump, who backed off his proposed 20% toll on all ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz today and said now they're going to be investing in the country, in the U.S. America first. America first, okay, America first. So Trump is doing that. They're not going to allow Iran to be, I guess, doing commerce through the Strait of Hormuz, and they're not going to be patrolling it. Sorry, Iran is still shooting at ships and shooting at their neighbors. So they've been pelted, what was it, fourth straight day? The U.S. is going through and still, continuing to take out their drones and their missile capabilities. I say we pound them into oblivion. They're clearly not, they're simply playing games. They're trying to wait Trump out so they can get rid of him, get the Democrats in, who will give them, I don't know, another couple of pallets with probably $1.7 or $8 billion in the middle of the night, flown in cash money by like what Barack Obama did. Here's another thing. Consumer prices fell sharply in June, much better than expected, the biggest decline in 6 years. I say this was thanks to relief at the gas pump and a broad decline in inflation. The consumer price index fell 0.4% last month compared with May, the Department of Labor said. This is the largest decline since 2020. That's interesting. And then also we've got another dirtbag Democrat. I really don't know how he voted, but I'm pretty sure he'd vote Democrat. A 19-year-old man has been arrested after sexually assaulting a woman and then trying to drown her in White Oak Bayou. According to Precinct 1 Alan Rosen, Harris County Constable. So this 19-year-old dude is going and trying to rape women, sexually assault them, and then drown them in the bayou. Okay, we can get to that. We'll get to your calls as well. Tell you what, let's go ahead and take a break. Bart and Spring, hold on, Bart. We'll get to you right on the other side. We got a very short break, and we'll get to Bart and then more of your calls as well. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I wonder, did they check the guy, the 19-year-old, if he's a vampire or not? I don't know if he bit the woman. They need to check that too. So anyway, all right, 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. We're just getting started here in hour number 2. Plenty of time to get to your calls. 281-558-KSEV.
ChrisX Radio. Texas born, Texas raised. The voice of Texas.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Your smartphone is now your radio. All you need is a KSEV app. And with one click, you're listening to KSEV. Go to the Android Marketplace or the iPhone App Store. Search KSEV. Select the KSEV app. It's free and it only takes a couple of minutes. Listen to KSEV. Send us an email or text message. Connect to our Facebook page. It's easy with the KSEV app. More details at ksevradio.com.
Tune in to the Ray Massey Reverse Mortgage Show each Friday at 1 p.m. and Saturdays at 3 p.m. with Treybo Mortgage. Or call Ray directly at 855-266-1600 or online at reversemortgages4Texans.com.
Hi, y'all. It's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. You know, with all the scary stuff we've been through, it's still true that timing is everything, and the time to buy is now. But don't go looking without a solid pre-approval in hand. And this includes an application and a detailed discussion about property taxes. If you didn't have the talk, about property taxes, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. Mortgages are personal. Let's face it, we're dealing with your home and your money, and it doesn't get much more personal than that. When it's the largest transaction that most people will ever be involved in, imagine having someone on your side looking out after you. What a concept. We audit your closing statement to make sure you're not paying for things that you're not supposed to. Do you think your big bank's going to do that? Probably not. For all of your mortgage needs, call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Does your company have a cybersecurity rider? Are you compliant with its terms? If you are not sure, call Tactical Cyber Services for a free consultation. 713-229-0030 or go online at tacticalcyberservices.com.
The leaders.
Senator Ted Cruz.
Thank you, Chris. It's always great to be with you.
Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
Hey, thanks for having us on. I appreciate it very much.
The newsmakers.
Folks like Peter Schweitzer.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be on with you.
And Coulter.
Great to be here, Chris. Thank you.
And the day's top stories with spot-on analysis.
Their first concern is not for the security and safety of the people of this country. Their first concern is protecting their left-wing behinds.
The Chris Salcedo Show on The Voice of Texas.
Checker Pro Joe here. Don't miss the Checker Pro Radio Show, your trusted source for home service pros. This week, we're featuring Bel Air Air Conditioning, keeping Houston cool and comfortable. Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m., right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Fake news hates us. Fake news hates us. ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
You know, sometimes people just call in and tell me to relax or get too amped up. I'm generally not as amped up as you think. But the difference is when I'm doing this program, it's like therapy for me, though. I can get on here and I don't really do a lot of yelling and screaming. Sometimes I get animated, but I try not to scream at the microphone like certain other people. I just don't, especially early in the morning. Oh, man. I don't know how people do that. But I guess if you've been up a while, it's not quite as early. And people don't realize a lot of times when you do those radio programs in the morning, you've been up a while preparing for the show. So it's not as early to that particular person as it is to those who are listening, especially in my case. I happen to be a night owl. And if I don't have to get up early, I try not to. But I can't sleep in like I used to. When I was a kid, I could sleep past noon. I don't remember the last time I slept past 10:30 or 11. Anyway, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. You've reached the, let's see, what is it? We got this segment and then two more remaining. So if you want to get in, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Let's go to the phones. Pick up with Bart, who's been patiently holding in spring. Bart, thanks for hanging
Chris,
on. Welcome
how
to
you doing
ChrisX Radio.
today?
I'm good today.
It's
How are you,
actually
Bart?
good for you to vent, a catharsis, they call it.
It's very cathartic. You're absolutely correct.
I laugh because I get in these discussions with people. I try to keep calm. What blows my mind is how little they know. Like you talk to Renee Good being told 3 times to step out of the car and her supposed so-called wife telling her drive, drive, drive. They don't even know that. The news doesn't even say that she was resisting arrest and refusing to get out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They have a vested interest in people being uninformed, and it works very well on those who aren't as engaged as people like us who are willing to go through and actually get the facts. So no, you're dead on.
I told him, I said, this guy grabbed the ICE guy, Alex Preddy, by the back of the collar and was interfering with an arrest of an illegal alien, and they look at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the guy was interfering with the police doing their duties. That's why he got shot. And they're like, nobody, I've never heard that. And I'm like, doesn't make it false.
No, because the Democrats who run the propaganda media in this country want you to believe ICE agents are simply just going and murdering people for no reason.
Right.
Which is absolutely ludicrous on its face. But then again, when you're dealing with Democrats and the low information voters and the ill-informed, they'll believe just about anything.
Yeah, I'm from New York originally, and right now, you probably are unaware of this, but they've got a 20-block long on the west side homeless encampment since Mamdani took over, and you won't see it anywhere on the media. And this is where most of those major media people are located, right there on the west side of Manhattan, and nobody's reporting it.
Yeah, it's almost as though the media isn't actually media and doing a service to the country. It's almost as though they're nothing more than propaganda for the Democrat cult.
Have you heard anybody talk? They've got 60 cases of Legionnaire's disease. That's what you get from bad air conditioning and stuff in New York City. Have you heard anybody report that?
A while back, I heard something about it wasn't 60 cases. I don't know what the number was, but I'd heard. Is that what they're reporting now in New York?
Nobody's reporting it. There's 60 cases of Legionnaires, which can be fatal. It's contagious. And I'm like, what the hell? The media's right there, and nobody reports it. It's hard to discuss things politically with people that are intentionally kept in the dark.
Well, yeah, that's usually, well, once again, when I'm at parties or around other people, I don't discuss politics very much because people are so ill-informed. And unless I'm asked, I don't bring it up. But then again, that's kind of like what we were seeing come across the border during the Biden administration, when you got people bringing diseases that have long been eradicated in our country straight across the border into our country because they weren't vetting them. They were just letting them in and letting them go. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So that once again, that falls right in line with the propaganda cult. They don't like to cover things.
I was talking to somebody about the $200 million deficit the county's running under Hidalgo, and she was trying to do this illegal immigrant legal defense fund. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're in debt, and you're spending the money defending illegal immigrants that are breaking our laws? But they just don't know. It's just not reported.
Yeah, once again, it's these same clowns. Once again, they're in debt, and they're wanting to do the basic uniform basic income to give poor people in certain districts so they'll vote a certain way. To people, just give them a basic income, universal basic income, while they're broke. So they're taking tax dollars that they don't even have and use that money, just like District Attorney, Sean Tier wants to go through and do an investigation, needs to get funding from Harris County, who's broke, but they'll give him the funding so he can investigate the feds, that he has no legal authority to do so whatsoever, because that's what Democrats do. They spend their time focusing on political
was
issues.
Talking about, they had Bill King on there, and he had the Harris County treasurer saying that $200 million might reach $300 million next year, and most of it is these big pay raises, the additional county employees they've hired. And they're like, we can't run these huge deficits in Harris County, but nobody's talking about it.
Well,
hey, I'm glad you are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Bart. I appreciate the phone call. But also, there is somebody running, who is talking about it, is Orlando Sanchez, the Republican candidate for Harris County judge. He's been talking about it. He was former Harris County treasurer. He knows what he's talking about. He's actually a very sharp guy. You think Orlando's going to get a lot of coverage from the propaganda media? No, not so much. They're going to do everything they can to get, was it Letitia Plummer? She's a Muslim? I didn't know that. She's a Muslim lady, a black Muslim lady that's running. That's a double minority. That defeats the other minority who's just Hispanic. This is the bizarre world in which we find ourselves in. A world in which facts and evidence don't matter. Doing a job, providing services for the county. Who cares about that? We want to investigate the feds. We want to spend millions of dollars everywhere except where we should. And they elected, once again, they got some little clown dirtbag, Dora the Explorer, and she's gone. She's done. She's gone. Are they going to replace her with a leftist communist, or are we going to replace her with somebody who's actually done a job and actually did good, like Orlando Sanchez? I think you know how I'm going to be voting in that race. It's insane. All right, let's take a short break. We'll come back. We got Chris in Spring. Chris, hold on. We'll get you on the other side. But that's the insanity. And what's funny is I'm glad to hear you say that, Bart, because it is extremely frustrating to talk with people who are ignorant on the issues. And then it's even 10 times more frustrating to talk to people who relish in their ignorance and aren't interested in the facts. That's why generally at parties and things like that, I don't talk too much about it unless I'm asked. Usually when I'm asked once, and then they don't ask me again. Because very few people are as informed as us. It's weird coming from a family. I got brothers and sisters that are highly informed, but brothers that are just ultimately informed, and they're constantly trying to fight with me over the facts. But then again, that's what you call sibling rivalry, I do believe. I guess helps keep me on my toes. All right, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
ChrisX Radio.
After a hard rain, you can see them. The water stains on the ceiling or the dripping water from a recessed light. Now you start to get nervous because you know leaks can cause big problems.
Once the water enters the structure, the trouble starts. Water weakens rafters and beams over time. It soaks through drywall and damages the insulation in your home.
And Roland, don't forget about mold. It grows fast in our humidity and causes all kinds of health problems.
I'd really hate to see you spend thousands on expensive structural or drywall repairs or mold removal projects, especially when we can fix those leaks quickly at Tejas Roofing.
And most of our leak repairs are under $500. This is Deb and Roland Tejada from Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. Call us when you first see that leak, 281-251-0304. See our work online at TejasRoofingandContracting.com. Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Thank you so much for your radio show. I listen to you all the time, and I find it of great value.
Jim, that means so much to me. I never dreamed when I started doing this 22 years later I'd still be on the air with fine folks like yourself.
Well, we may not get a lot of people calling in, but I'm sure there's lots and lots of people listening because your advice is very good.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you.
The Backyard Bay Radio Show, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
The open enrollment period for medical plans is right around the corner, so get some facts and your options. In response to COVID-19, rates are expected to rise as high as 40% in some states. Are you already paying exorbitant Obamacare or COBRA rates? Are you paying ridiculous rates for your family on your work group plan? Are you going without insurance because you can't find anything reasonable? Your search is over. Listen to your pal Chris Salcedo. How does a zero-deductible, no-copay nationwide PPO plan sound? And you can get it at half the cost, keeping your hard-earned money where it belongs, in your pocket. American Medical Plans will tailor a plan that best fits you as well as your budget. American Medical Plans are local guys. Their goal is to give you peace of mind and the utmost in healthcare. Call American Medical Plans today to see if you qualify and start saving 30 to 60% now. Call 833-500-PLAN. That's 833-500-7526, or go to AmericanMedicalPlans.com. That's AmericanMedicalPlans.com. It's a quality plan chosen and managed by you, not the government.
Gas Product Services is here to help you get ready for the summer. If you have a gas grill or an outdoor kitchen that needs servicing or an upgrade, call Russell Metzler today. With over 20 years in the gas products business, Russell is your go-to guy for all of your home's natural gas items and ideas. From outdoor kitchens, grills, fire features, or gas lights, Russell can add inspiring ambiance and culinary features for all of your backyard gatherings. Call Russell today at 281-798-8006 or gasproductservices.com.
And now, back to ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio on the voice of Texas.
You know, the news is talking about Darlene Graham, the sister to Lindsey Graham, who's been nominated, or I think she's sworn in now. So she's the interim senator while they set up for the special election to replace Lindsey Graham, who passed away over the weekend. Every time I hear the name Darlene, I think, I'm probably the only person in the world that thinks this, I remember the song, what was it off of Led Zeppelin? They did a song called Darlene that was off the one album they did after, it was the only album I think it was released after John Bonham died. I can't remember the name of the album, but it was just there were just a few songs they threw together on there. It was actually a great tune. I really liked it. Oh, Darlene, dun, 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 Darlene. Haven't heard that one in a long time. I'm amazed I even remember it. And then the news is now, did Lindsey Graham raise his sister? What did Lindsey Graham actually do? What did he know? The news is horrible. All right, let's take more of your phone calls. 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us. 281-558-5738. Let's go to Chris in Spring. Chris, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Hey, buddy. Just to go up from Bart there, you know, every time that they have a press conference on a story they know nothing about, I would encourage Cindy Siegel, maybe Paul Betancourt, maybe some local Republicans to just counter them and say, this commissioner's court cannot run an ice cream shop, much less balance a budget with 6 million people in the county. Let's just counter them, because this is what they do. This is the game they play, and we have to fight it. It's so annoying, this fake outrage. That's all it is to get votes. The midterms are coming. So, just eye for an eye there, get out there. They cannot balance the budget. The state of Texas should come in and take over their their commissioner's court if they can't balance the budget. For 6 months, the state takes it over. We have to fight fire with fire. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for the call, Chris. Those are good points. The only difference is, as you know, once again, the media is the propaganda of the Democrat cult. So they're not going to cover it, for one. I know there have been certain politicians speaking out. The one difference on our side, which the Democrats don't have to follow, which is why they jump to conclusions because facts don't matter, and then they do this, and you're absolutely right. This is all about ginning up people to vote in the midterms or any election, for that matter, to vote for Democrats. Well, the Republicans want to wait until the investigations are actually done to get the facts and get information, which puts us at an inherent disadvantage. Because, once again, not that you shouldn't do exactly what you're saying. Hey, listen, while you guys are mouthing off and doing all this stuff and you have absolutely zero jurisdiction to investigate this, maybe you should actually focus on balancing your budget. Maybe you should focus on providing services to the citizens of Harris County. Maybe you should do that and then let the investigation play out and then comment on that. But no, they don't trust anything, because anything that doesn't lead to their ultimate goal of absolute power. The problem is we've moved into a time of universal deceit. They don't care about facts. They're not interested in facts. Therefore, the facts only get in their way. So the best thing that they can do is jump into their propaganda apparatus, wind everybody up, get everybody all amped up, put out misinformation that people will be espousing on Election Day in November. Between here and now, facts don't matter. They spend all of their time manipulating the low information voters. They're never going to be as informed as you and I, Chris. No matter how hard our side tries, they're not going to be informed. If they really wanted to be informed, they would be looking for that information. But they're not. They're just allowing themselves to be spun up by people that have no vested interest in them other than getting them to vote, to give them absolute power. But your point is well taken, though. Absolutely, we can't ever back down and back off. There should be a counter to every single thing they do, even if we just have to push it out on social media, which will get shadow banned on things like Facebook, but at least Twitter, they can get some information out now, Rumble, some of those things, to absolutely counter. And there are counters out there. I've seen them. But it's so hard to beat that media. That media is run by a bunch of freaking dirtbags, and they do not care. They're not even remotely interested. Unless the answer is elect more Democrats to bring more corruption and crime, that's the answer. That's all they want. But I like your approach. See, Chris, you get it. You understand that there's nowhere on this country, nowhere on this planet that we can run to escape these dirtbag Democrats who want to hunt us down and rule over us. They will murder us if it suits their needs. I'm sure you saw, what was it, Amy Coney Barrett, Amy Kobe Bryant, and Elena Kagan were testifying before House Committee today about getting more funding for more protection for Supreme Court justices. We now have to protect Supreme Court justices from crazed Democrats who want to murder them. The time of the days, remember when the Supreme Court justice would ride their bike to the Supreme Court every now and then? No, you can't do that anymore. They have to. Amy Coney Barrett was talking about wearing her bulletproof vest and explaining it to her 12-year-old son. And then you got that, looked like a softball game broke out with Elena Kagan was there. They're not having to protect them from Republicans. Are they having to protect them from conservatives? No. They have to protect them from radical Democrats who have now determined that it is okay to murder people you disagree with. That's what they did to Charlie Kirk. They significantly impacted the movement Charlie Kirk has put in place with Turning Point USA. And then they get the clowns in Podcastistan to go after his widow and attack her relentlessly to also erode the credibility of the organization because they were being too effective. And they murdered Charlie Kirk for asking a question, and then they pretend as though the guy, that it's an open and shut case. The guy did it. There's no doubt about it. The first hearing, the initial hearing, had so much damning evidence, it's not even close. But then you got clowns like Candace Owens, who, it's the Jews. We're going to blame it on Israel. As Dana Lash calls them, Podcastistan. Clowns like Tucker Carlson, which I can't use the term that some of the others on the other end of the dial use. which, by the way, he was at the MMA fight on Saturday night. Conor McGregor made his, we'll just say, lackluster return to the ring. And now there's a big conspiracy over that. Was he injured before he went in the ring? Because he tried this jumping kick at the first 30 seconds of the fight. He came running out, tried to do this big jumping kick, and landed and blew his knee out. And then they said maybe it's his foot or his ankle or whatever. Me being an athlete, not anywhere to the level to where they are, when you do injure one thing, it often leads to other injuries. There were times when I would, you would tweak a quad on one side, and then when you're trying to make up for it on the other, you end up pulling a hamstring. Oh, I've done that many, many times. So it's possible that maybe Conor McGregor had injured himself in training right before the fight, didn't want to pull out, wanted to go in, and then probably tried to, like I said, just try to Hail Mary right at the beginning because he knew he would have no chance. And then they had to call the fight. All the other fights on the card were good, but that one was pretty lame. Also on there was, what's her name, Sophie Cunningham. They used her as a ring girl at for one of the fights. She walked around with a ring card and set it down, which was great. Which is funny because she's the WNBA. Mixed martial arts, UFC, marketing this woman because the WNBA has no clue how to do marketing. They're too busy assaulting and attacking the only thing that has brought them money since their inception. Just going and trying to beat poor Caitlin Clark into submission. And then Sophie Cunningham is sort of rose as this emerging star because she was pointing at the chick who was melting down the other day, or was it a couple of weeks ago? And then she got whatever. But she was there. So she's become this internet superstar meme because of this, and then everyone's memeing that. And there's like, Republicans only support her because she's white. What? Okay. Yeah, that's it. We're all racist. All of us on our side who believe in equality for everyone, no matter what your ethnicity or the color of your skin is or your gender. Those of us on this side who want to believe in equality, we're all racist. Not those race-baiting dirtbags on the other side that want to convince you that some dude cosplaying as a chick is now a chick and you don't have chick rights anymore. Sorry. Yeah, trust them. They're going to work out great for you. And they're also the same people that are running around wanting to murder everyone who disagrees with them. So we've learned the days of McCarthyism, that the communists never went away. They're still here. And they have slowly but surely and incrementally worked their way into the system and are destroying it from within. It's dangerous. It is terrible for our democracy. It is awful for our republic. But they're not going to stop. They're going to keep doing it because that's what they do. The fact that we have the Democrat Socialists of America, the DSA, basically they should be called the Communists of America because they all support communism. People like Bernie Sanders. I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm a communist. When I go and take my honeymoon, I go to the former Soviet Union. And then I come back home and live in my 3 houses. And yes, I have a summer cottage on Lake Champlain. Forgive me if I make millions of dollars from book sales. Forgive me for engaging in capitalism while I push socialism for the rest of you serfs. And then you get clowns like AOC who jump on board, and these others, they're literally insane. And they get people to vote for them. Why? We're the free ice cream party. If you vote for me, I'll give you money. Vote for me, I'll raid the rainy day fund and give you $1,500. That's what the Democrat get. I'm going to take your tax dollars set aside for natural disasters and things like that, thing that we need here in Texas. Oh, no. We're going to give them to voters. Wow, I wonder if we went through, well, that's a statewide race, so we know what they're going to do with that. That's kind of like the universal basic income that the Democrat Socialists of America on Harris County Commissioner's Court went through and tried to push through. And go look at the zip codes and look where those people are voting. Rodney Ellis. Lena Hidalgo. Adrian Garcia. All right, let's get another call. 281-558-KSEV. We've only got one segment remaining. Let's get a call in before we have to break. Let's go to Rick, who's patiently holding in Cyprus. Rick, thanks for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisXradio.
Hey, Chris, how you doing today? Hey,
I'm good, Rick.
I've been seeing these socialists that have been coming on platforms and actually getting elected into office. And I think the Democratic Party is eating their own, and I'm enjoying it. I tell you, it's a everyday thrill for me. I see these guys eat the Democratic Party up in pieces. And I think what's going to happen in the midterms, and I've been pretty much watching all the elections that have been going on, the midterms, the true blue heart Democrats, the blue dogs that are Kennedy Democrats, don't want to vote for these people. They don't even show up. This is like this guy from Mondani that won New York. Those guys didn't even show up to vote for him. The guys that showed up were the socialists. So I think what's going to happen in the midterms is these Democrats are going to just stay home. They're not even going to want to vote for him. And I think we've got a clear shot for the midterms. I think the Republicans are going to have a good chance to gain control of both houses and stay in control.
Oh, we seem to have lost him. Did we lose him? Did we lose Rick? Okay, we lost you, Rick. Sorry. You're making good points. Listen, I want to comment on what you were saying. We're looking at races that are in play that usually aren't in play because of exactly what you're saying. There are Democrats that don't want to vote for these Democrat socialists, these communists that are getting elected. Unfortunately, people like Mamdani will get elected in places like New York. And then as the city is falling apart around them, basically his response is, suck it, bitches. Am I allowed to say that on the radio? That's basically his response. He's a radical Muslim who pretends not to be, but his wife is definitely a radical Muslim. She supported Hamas and the deaths of, the murder of innocent Jews and people, and supported the terrorist organization. But once again, that's what they do. Let's pray to God you're absolutely right, because the midterms are anything but a done deal. Historically, Democrats would win hands down, no problem at all. But unfortunately, the biggest problem with Democrats winning election is Democrats winning elections. They get in power, and the moment they're in power, they slowly but surely start aligning the American people against them. All right, let's take a short break. Appreciate the call, Rick. Good points. Let's take a short break. We'll come back. We got Don on the other side to wrap up today's show. Don't you go anywhere. We got one segment remaining. 281-558 KSEV. We'll be right back.
Listening to ChrisX Radio, AM 700, KSEV.
Hi, this is Louis Flory. You've been relying on Ability Tree experts for decades to protect and maintain the valuable trees on your property. You can continue to rely on the same professional services. So call Ability Tree experts at 281-441-4179 today.
Weather Center, tonight expect overcast skies and high humidity with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas. The low will be 74. Tomorrow, anticipate a thunderstorm with cloudy conditions in the morning, giving way to a mix of clouds and sun in the afternoon. Temperatures will reach a high of 84. Tomorrow night will bring cloudy and humid weather with a low of 75. Looking ahead to Thursday, it will be cloudy and humid with another chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high temperature will climb to 91. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
I started my first business at 12 years old, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I thought I was crushing it until my buddy down the street undercut me by $2. But he didn't just cut the price. He cut corners too. That's when I learned if you do the job right, people trust you, and integrity beats profit. People care more about how you show up and whether you do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we crush it, and we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts, and the spring's guaranteed to last a lifetime. Because when you care about the people you serve, you work harder, and it shows. From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at GarageDoorDoctor.biz. And yeah, we still beat the other guy.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
What if you could invest in real estate for pennies on the dollar? Find out how this Saturday at 2 p.m. on the Check a Pro Radio Show, when tax lien certificate expert Ted Thomas reveals one of America's best-kept investment secrets. Tune in this Saturday at 2 p.m.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
The voice of Texas, the voice of reason. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
Welcome back to ChrisX Radio. Glad to have you here with us as you've reached the final segment of the program today. So I'm glad to have you here on board. We're going to wrap things up and then turn things over to the Craig Collins program, which airs here at 6 p.m. on Monday through Friday. So while Craig is heating up the airwaves, I'm going to go eat some tacos or something. Maybe a burrito. I don't know. Maybe something. It's Taco Tuesday. I don't know if it's the law or anything. I don't know if I'm actually required by law to have tacos, but it doesn't mean I can't have Tex-Mex. I don't know if I have that or not. Could just have a burger. Man, Domino's is sending me emails. Quit emailing me, Domino's. Not because I'm angry, because it makes me want pizza. So there we go. I think I'm good for pizza right now. I'd go for something else, because I do enjoy pizza. All right, welcome back to the program. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Once again, the president's going to speak to the nation on Thursday evening. We'll see. Apparently, he's going to address something about, foreign nations' plans to have interfered in the 2020 presidential election, which wouldn't surprise me one bit. There was so many shenanigans with that election that the Democrat Party could not just look any harder in the other direction. And it looks like I said, we'll find out, I guess, more on this new report that ICE is halting vehicle stops in the latest, these latest shootings. Somebody was saying, I saw on social media, are the cops going to do the same thing? So people can keep fighting and fighting with cops, and cops will stop pulling them over? It is utterly ridiculous catering to lawlessness. Brought to you by the Democrat Socialists of America, and then the other Democrats of America that want absolute power. Yeah, that's great. All right, let's go to the phones here before we run out of time. Pick up with Don, listening in Point Blank. Don, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
You were mentioning the Democrat Socialists in America, or whatever they are. I don't know, their manifesto or something, but I was watching Mark Levin on TV this weekend, and he read from that, and then he read directly from the 1936 Constitution of the Soviet Union by Joseph Stalin. And the two things, the wording was a little different, but they were practically identical.
Doesn't really surprise me. The Democrat Socialists of America are basically, they're communist is all they are. They're just hiding under the guise of, it's Democrat socialism because it's better. No, that's like communism on a plate is all that is.
Well, some of the things, it sounded pretty good, like in theory, but of course it didn't. It never was like that. All these guarantees for Soviet citizens and all this stuff. When of course, Stalin murdered them.
There's a great person. First of all, hold your thought there. There's a great person to listen to. Her name is Yeon-Mi Park. She is a defector from North Korea, and she talks about what the Jong-un brothers or whatever brought to Korea and how they came in promising socialism, Democrat socialism, vote for us, and this will be great. And then North Korea, you don't have to pay for your home anymore. We'll get food for everybody. Everything will be wonderful. And then the moment they assume power, what do? They immediately, everybody's poor, you're all broke, you're forced to do things you don't want to do, and the government takes all of the excess. And that's exactly what happens in communism everywhere. And there's a perfect example of it taking place right now as we speak in the Democrat-run North Korea. Literally, that's where it is. That's what they push. And it's amazing how many suckers will buy it and go through there and vote for them because they're promising a free ice cream.
Well, when it's supposed to be everybody's equal, well, they're equally poor. I mean, except for the elite. There's always a special elite ruling class that, kind of like an animal farm. George Orwell's all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Thanks for the call, Don. We'll end on that one. Yeah, you're right on. George Orwell wrote a few books. One of them was called Animal Farm. It's a good one to read if you haven't read it. The other one was called 1984. When he wrote them as warnings. They weren't supposed to be used as an outline or a guide. I guess kids quit reading that in high school. That's what it was required reading when I was in school. Communism terrified me. I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine this. And then where we're today, where you got clowns like AOC running around pushing it, it's insanity. But when you don't educate and you indoctrinate, that's where we end up. All right, the Craig Collins Show is up next. You guys be safe. We'll see you tomorrow for Hump Day.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV.